Hello, can you guys hear me all right? All right, this is time to put on your lovely headphones, or I think you might be able to hear me. But thank you guys for joining us today. I think we have some stiff competition right now with some other sessions, so appreciate you guys making the time to talk about field service. I'm Allison Johnson-Bryan. I am a PMM on the Service Cloud team, visiting from San Francisco, and excited to have this conversation with you guys today. At this point of the day, hopefully you've seen the slide several times. It's a friendly reminder from our lawyers. Just make all of your purchasing decisions based off products that are currently available in the marketplace. So before we get started, first want to start off with thanking you for being here today, for joining us, for being our customer, for showing interest in our product. A lot of our presentations are really based off content that our customers or trailblazers have shared with us. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your insights. It really helps us shape the product. It helps us shape some of the industry trends that we're testing out and make sure that what we're working on really resonates with the marketplace. So today, again, you hopefully have heard about the fourth industrial revolution. And this is really important to us here at Salesforce because it's really helped us understand why we're seeing such a shift in the service industry. And even if we think about field service and what it was 3 or 5 or 10 years ago to where we are today, we've seen a massive shift in the skills that are needed for agents. We've seen a massive shift in technology and that transformation from pen and paper into using mobile devices. And this is really fueled by the idea of the fourth industrial revolution. Our customers are more connected than ever before in our personal life, and that expectation really shines in field service. And things like IoT are prevalent. Intelligence, we're having many conversations around how intelligence can help your agents, can help your mobile workers or your mobile workforce, and how things like the gig economy. So having that Uber-like experience can really affect how you think of customer service for your mobile workforce. We think about this idea of a deskless workforce, so your mobile employees. 80% of folks are not sitting at a desk, so they're on the road, they're mobile, they're dialing in, they're remote. And as we think about this in the context of what it means for field service, it's really important to understand that this mobile workforce, they are representing your brand. They are spanning across multiple industries. So from healthcare life sciences, it might be a home health nurse who's being dispatched to go check in on a patient. It could be a technician that's gone in to fix a laser or something important, or maybe installing that new sink that you ordered a while ago. To even folks like Kiara here who work at the Container Store, where their employees are being sent out to go install closets on behalf of the Container Store. And so it doesn't matter what industry you're in, there are trailblazers all across the various industries who are really representing your brand and being on site and being that first role of engagement for your brand. And these are really the heroes. These are people that are face-to-face with your customer and are taking your service kind of over the finish line to make sure that service level agreements are met and that they're actually producing the quality of work that a customer has signed up for. And we're talking about 2.7 billion people. So that is a lot of mobile devices and a lot of information that needs to be distributed. And in talking with our customers, one thing we know is that all of this information, it sounds great, it sounds beautiful, this connected experience, but it doesn't exist truly. There's not a perfect state where all this information can live. And in talking to those who've been in field service for a while, they've invested heavily into this technology. They've built their own systems that aren't necessarily connected. And they're super efficient or effective, perhaps, but it's not connected back to that customer data, or it's not connected back to that service center. And so it's challenging. It doesn't exist. All right, we're going to skip that slide. So how do we make sure that this is actually happening? How do we paint this beautiful picture into a reality? And we talk to folks, it really starts with knowing your customer. And it starts with making sure that all of their information lives in a place where your mobile workforce and your dispatchers can access that. Is there a special code, perhaps, at their home site that you need to keep in mind? Is there a service level agreement? Is this a high priority for your company? There's a ton of information that really needs to be connected back. And we talked to some of our trailblazers, we realized that their ERP system might be disconnected or the solutions aren't working, and that can be really challenging. So with Salesforce, with this information, what we've realized is that to be successful in field service, we need to make sure that you have one platform. So how do we take things like this gig economy and this Uber-like experience and apply it to what you're doing in field service? How do you take these themes around the connected customer who's connected, who expects you to know who they are, and bring that into your field service idea. How do you harness the power of AI? What does that actually mean for field service? So how can you take things like how long does it take to get a job done? What are the traffic patterns that would impact the delivery time for your agent? What are all of these different facts that you need access to that we can use AI to help serve that up to you? So again, your dispatcher has all the information at their fingertips and they don't have to Google so much or search for this data. And then ultimately, how do you take all of that goodness and put it in the hands of your mobile workforce, these 2.7 billion people, to make sure that they're empowered? They have the information. They know who your customer is. They know where they need to arrive. And for us, we realize the value is putting all of that on a single platform so you can make sure that your mobile workforce has this information, your dispatchers are successful, and your customers ultimately winning and getting access to this. So we've built this on the Salesforce platform, which means if it's in different places or you're using different technologies, you can bring that all together to make sure you're delivering a truly connected experience. Now, with Field Service Lightning, I want to highlight our customer here, Amitha. She's one of our trailblazers. I've actually worked with her the past 2 years and really know their story quite well. They're an America-based company, Coherent, and they build lasers. And these lasers can be used in some very critical situations for medical procedures, as well as building and manufacturing. And one of the challenges that they faced with their service organization is that often they would be dispatched to jobs, and they needed real-time information about where the laser was and if it was broken and who needed access to it. And the way that they envisioned their field service organization being really successful was implementing IoT. So they were getting important information about these lasers as soon as possible. So if there was a breakdown or a disconnect or repair or maintenance that was needed, it was getting right back to headquarters and the dispatchers, and they could look at the way that their jobs were being dispatched for the day and make adjustments, because the cost of not being operational for that day could be mission critical. It could really ultimately affect their brand. And so as they thought about their service organization, they went beyond just scheduling and dispatching, but using some of the latest technology and trends like IoT and intelligence and baking that into their vision. So you can see here their dispatcher console, the way they're really thinking about that is just beyond just scheduling work and certain jobs, but also having a really strategic approach and making sure that their crews and their contractors could be scheduled appropriately and use things like AI and IoT to make those decisions. Other features we talk about that are really important come around delivering this guided mobile experience. So again, we've got 2.7 billion people that are using their mobile devices, and they need to have access to information. They need to know where they're going. They need to know who they're seeing, if there's important information they need to access. And they don't want to go to multiple apps. They need all of that in one central location. And so as we've talked through our customers on what's important to them and what's vital for their success, delivering a mobile experience with all of the information at their fingertips, surveys, forms, flows, news articles, friendly reminders. It's really important that they have that in one central spot. And then ultimately, through the power of the platform, as they have new ideas of ways to scale, maybe ways to communicate with their customer, to send out emails, to have more engagement, all of that can be done on one platform. They can have access and visibility into that at all times. So there are a lot of features we could talk through. In fact, Karthik here is in the audience, and he's one of our lovely PMs, and he can talk to you about every single feature. You can find him afterwards. But we want to highlight just a couple that we think are really important that we've heard feedback from our analysts on that are really relevant today. So one is IoT. Does anyone here, IoT top of mind for you guys? Are you interested? I see nods. I see a hand. All right. So IoT, AI, connected devices, fourth industrial revolution. What does this mean for field service? For us, this is built in the Lightning component with IoT. But again, thinking about Coherent and their use case, how can you access this idea of connected devices and have insight into a device before it breaks? So how can you make sure that the information from these devices, perhaps in really remote locations, is being sent back to your contact center, is being sent back to your service agent so they can anticipate any breakdowns before they happen? Because the worst thing that can happen in an extremely remote location that might take weeks for someone to get access to is that it's broken and no one knows, and service level agreements aren't being met, and things are broken down, and it's just chaos and pain. So we want to eliminate that. And so So we really talk to our analysts and understand how IoT insights can give that information back, and you can be more agile and kind of benefit from that right away. So you can automatically create work orders, you can get this combined 360-degree view, but ultimately you can use the idea of connected devices to make sure that your business is thriving. The other big theme is around data. So one of the slides earlier, it showed your ERP system, your connected customers. There's all of this different information. And we realized that with field service from these legacy systems, it's not all connected. So how do we make sure that you can access that data that you've been collecting for years? And with the MuleSoft Anypoint platform, what we do is we've created these mules, these integrations, where you can then access this information and pull it into your platform so folks can see that data and nothing gets lost in translation. So important to think about as we talk to an industry that has a lot of legacy systems that you've been using. Man, these characters are giving me a run for my money. And the last but not least, we're going to talk about Trailhead. So we realize that there are some trends, there are some soft skills that are really important for field service. And we talk about this aging workforce and how we're bringing in more field service agents, more field service mobile workers, and they don't necessarily have the knowledge that maybe someone who's been on the job for 10 to 15 years. So how can you help folks quickly ramp up? You know, we met with one of our customers. They are a leading elevator company in Helsinki. And you know, they had this challenge where they were bringing on a bunch of new employees, and they didn't have the tribal knowledge of installing and repairing elevator parts. And they actually showed us some of the different parts, and were helping us learn to identify the difference. And it was challenging. And so with Trailhead and My Trailhead, you can customize this and create training so they can learn new soft skills or understand what knowledge they need to be successful in the field. And so this can help you upskill your employees, but even more importantly, as a business, you know what pains and challenges you have in ramping up, and you can take that information and push it through this enablement tool to really make sure that your teams and the folks there are getting educated, and they know about the latest trends. They know about what technology they need to use. They know about some pro tips from veterans in the field to make sure that, again, they're being as effective as possible when they show up and ring that doorbell and are there to deliver service. So those are kind of three trends or three things that we think are really important about empowering your mobile workforce, empowering your techs, really breaking down IoT and whatnot. But enough from me. I'm actually going to welcome my colleague Matt Port up here, who's going to walk you through this next section and also bring up some of our awesome customers to share their story with you guys. So, Matt, come on up.
Thank you. All right, we're almost there, guys, and we're going to hear today from a couple of really great trailblazers customers that we've got locally here. So, before we do that, let's look at field service on the service platform. This product started around about, Alison, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, and the innovation that's gone into in that time is just absolutely mind-blowing. The growth of the product, as well as the innovation that's gone in, is amazing. So I'm not going to go through all of these now, but everything from being able to handle resource and time management, automated and scheduling and optimization is so critical to make sure that you're getting the best and the most out of those field workers, not just when they're there on site, but when they're even in between jobs, so where they're traveling to and from, etc. Product and asset management is something that's absolutely critical in this space, and making sure that we can optimize that, track stock movements between vehicles, and a whole lot more. It goes without saying that in this space, and especially here in Australia, offline, as much as you wouldn't think it is, it's still a critical requirement. You could go into the basement of some building and be there with no connectivity, and with the Field Service Lightning mobile app, what we allow technicians to do is complete their work, get their job done, and they can move on with the rest of their day, even if they're out of service. Parts and inventory, and linking that to asset and product management we've already spoken about. Contracts and entitlements is so critical as well, so making sure that not only we're sending the right person with the right skills, but that we're getting it done within the correct SLA as well. So are we actually meeting the customer's expectations as well as your own? And I think one of the biggest things that we've invested in over the last probably 12 months is contractor management. And I know that's such a big thing for Australian businesses, where it's not your own employees. You don't own their calendars. You don't own the resource. So how do we make sure that we can put the tools into the hands of your third-party organizations that they can go out and schedule their resources and make them more efficient as well? But really importantly, that all of you are getting the visibility of those third-party contractors and making sure that, again, they're being utilised well. And it goes without saying that customer engagement's critical. For those of you that were at the Service Cloud keynote earlier, you would have seen that customer engagement layer on top of field service, being able to have a customer book their own appointments, being able to interact with a bot, for example, that can actually book appointments on their behalf or reschedule is such a critical element to field service as well. And we've had pretty incredible momentum across the entire product portfolio from customers across a wide range of industries. You can see some of the names there. You saw me talk about the Container Store earlier. Perhaps some of you being able to extend out the capability of field service as well with the App Exchange with apps, for example, like Glance, which allows two-way video chat with the technician in the field. So how do we actually scale those technicians and allow somebody in the office to actually help them live and online? And also SI partner traction, especially here in region, getting some great partners that are best in class, that know this particular industry really well and can implement successfully on your behalf and alongside you. And with that, when we talk about implementation, I want to bring up now and talk about two amazing customers. So I want you to welcome to the stage Joe Mizzi from BSA and also Nicole Irvin from EnerSys. Welcome these guys up.
Thank you.
Grab a seat, guys. This is pretty awesome. We got comfy chairs for the last session of the day.
All settled in.
We just need a beer and a cocktail,
yes,
and
exactly.
we'll be good. Thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate you taking the time today. So I guess where I wanted to start today, before we get into your journeys, which are both very different and at very different stages, just starting with a little bit about sharing with the audience who you are, what the company does, and your role. So Nicole, we might start with you.
Thanks, Matt. It's great to be here again. It's my fourth world tour, so it's pretty exciting. And I come from EnerSys. We're a global company, and in Australia we have a servicing department that look after a lot of different businesses, a lot of different industries, mainly in the mining, telecommunications, as well as some of the education and other industries out there. And we have approximately 50 contractors and 50 internal staff that we're using at the moment, and we're nationally all over Australia. So we've had Salesforce in our ecosystem for 2 years, so in a very different place to where BSA is. But yeah, loving the journey so far.
Yeah. Before we go on to Joe, talk a little bit about that journey, because as I said, field service is not that old as a product, right? So you guys were really early adopters. So can you talk a little bit about where you've come from, so what you originally implemented, the key drivers as to why you needed to do it?
Yep. So we're a very old company. We've been around 20, 30 years, and we're very paper-based, all Excel. And so for us, we needed a system to come on board to automate that. Being a national company, being able to see what everyone was doing was really hard. So we sort of went out to the market for a workforce management tool, and Salesforce with its field service capability was top priority for us. It was very new. We started on the pilot. I had to transition over to the newer version. So it's definitely been an interesting journey, learning about our business, what our priorities are, and then trying to translate that into a new platform, field service. So it's been interesting, but definitely one the company has benefited from.
Yeah. And you talk about, or I spoke earlier about that innovation that's gone into the product, and I think a lot of that is thanks to customers like yourself. I know that every time Nicole will call us or email us, I'm like, uh-oh, what else does she want in the product, or what doesn't it do? How can we help? So it's thanks to customers like you that we have accelerated it so quickly, and I'm sure Joe is going to find the same once you guys.
I hope so.
So Joe,
Yeah.
welcome. Do you want to share a little bit about BSA and your
sure.
organisation?
Well, BSA has been around for about 20 odd years and has about 2,000 field engineers. Most of them are contractor based, and we cover all of Australia. Our primary focus of work is contractor as communication services. We also do fire and HVAC asset management. And we do build and maintain. And our key focus is actually to work on behalf of other clients to take care of their assets in the field. So it's quite a broad requirement. We've got a lot of clients.
And I think one of the things that struck me when we first spoke is the breadth of your business, right, and the variety of different use cases. So do you want to talk a little bit about where you're coming from? So you guys are really early in the piece with field service. Haven't yet gone live from my understanding.
That's right, 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
We should get you back up here next year. And
Oh, a lot more grey hair.
But anyway, so I guess what were the key drivers? Like, why now? Talk about where you've come from as well, because you guys it's not like you were on pen and paper, right?
No, we actually have an in-house system, which is actually pretty powerful, very, very tailor-focused system. The reality is, when you look at the breadth of what you put up before, we didn't have that, and the market has moved on, and our customer expectation has moved on as well. I was talking to Cole earlier on, these days when someone books a service call, they expect a technician to be at their door at 10 o'clock with their tools in their hand and the parts ready to do the job. And that's really hard to do, especially when you're trying to cover the whole breadth of Australia and cover different skill sets and different requirements for different contracts. So we've come from that background. We looked around the market. We actually did a very intense review of product and picked Salesforce combined with MuleSoft, by the way. We actually bought MuleSoft first. So it was very interesting when we found out that Salesforce bought MuleSoft. And then looked at the Salesforce product set and thought all the things it could do and how it could transform the work we do already. We already had great teams, great people, great disciplines. We just need to now give them a whole new set of tools, which just remove the barriers and let them see all the things they need to do on a day to really deliver excellent service.
Yeah. On that note, going back to Nicole, you talk about great tools, processes, etc. Given what you've already done and where you've come from in the 2 short years with field service, what's that actually meant for the team out in the field?
For the guys, it's meant that a lot less time needs to be in the office. So if you think of a field tech, they need to know where they're going, what they're doing, what equipment they need to take. The guys now get that information on their phone. If they've already got the stock in their car, they're gone. They can go to site straight away. So from that, it saves a lot of time on their behalf. A lot of them don't live close to an office, so saving time to just go straight to site instead of coming into an office. And then for the admins, it's a lot more automated. It's real time. I can log straight in. I know where the guy is, if they've done the job or not, or call them up and follow them up if they're not there yet. So also a safety thing. I know where my guys are at any point in time, which is awesome. And then clients. Our clients are excited. Real-time reporting. Our dashboard's looking great now. We can sort of give them everything they want in real-time fashion, end of month, mid-month, whenever they ask. It's ready to go now.
Cool. What's you spoke about, them not having to come back into the office, etc. What's the actual direct feedback from them been like?
The direct feedback is they're tradies. They don't want to be in the office. They hate the office. So the less time they can spend in the office, the better for them. So they definitely enjoy it. It's all on their fingertips now as well. So they don't have to scroll through 30 emails to find the address or 30 emails to find why they're on site or what they need to fix. So it has definitely streamlined information for them as well, which is good.
Yeah, cool. And I guess going back to you, Joe, Nicole's spoken a lot about the benefits she's already got.
Yes.
If you look and project 12 months, 2 years out, what are the actual tangible business benefits you expect to get?
Nicole almost hit the nail on the head, actually. I was going to say, just repeat what she said. But the other thing is also, we want to be able to aggregate our workforce. We have a lot of clients with different needs, different volumes, located across the whole country. And the problem is, people in the regional community have the same expectations they do in the city for service delivery on time with a certain quality of standard and so on. So we want to use the tools to be able to look at how we can best utilise our resources, equip them with the right tools and parts, and give them the availability to service a mixed bag of clients really in the field. And then use the analytics behind all that to understand what's going on, where the trends are, where the opportunities are for us to optimise the workforce itself.
Yeah.
Of course, making sure they're working safely and doing all the work items complete so we're satisfying our clients' needs. But underpinning all that is the customer, actually keeping the customer engaged, keeping them informed. So I think you mentioned before about giving the option to change the appointment. One of our biggest issues, for example, is the customer's not home. It's a big area. So if we can pre-advise them we're attending tomorrow, they can go, no, that's not good enough, I need a different time, and we can set that up and change it. So rather than the technician wasting his time and the client getting no service, we can schedule that around the client, and that commits them to the outcome as well. And the last one, of course, which we touched on before, because we work with a large amount of assets, is IoT. If we can start to proactively identify and service equipment on behalf of our clients, the client is actually happier, and the customer who's benefiting from that service is even happier. So we end up positioning everybody in a better position by understanding the trend of the device, what it's doing, when it needs servicing in advance of that work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very similar. I'm hoping that's the outcome anyway.
Fingers crossed
yes,
for you.
Absolutely.
Fingers crossed. No, you guys will do it, no doubt.
Yeah.
It's also interesting you mentioned about IoT, for example, that you're already looking towards that. We've spoken in other sessions about the customer 360-degree view, and that everybody's view of that wheel of all the different capabilities is quite different. And it's interesting that you guys are so early in the piece, but you're already looking at picking off so many other elements, right, that formulate. It's not just about the field service application as such, right? It's about the bigger picture.
That's right.
Yeah. we don't have a whole lot of time left, but I wanted two more questions for you both. Nicole, for you, what's next? You haven't stopped in 2 years doing extra stuff on the platform, so what are you doing next?
Still running 100 miles ahead.
Yep.
So next month I'm releasing a new contractor model. So we've got contractors in our ecosystem that aren't in Salesforce. So rolling out a portal for them. They can load their invoices. They can transact through a portal with us. And then in our battery business, we're rolling out CPQ quoting, real-time quoting on site, sent to the customer while on site in our work orders. So lots coming.
Excellent. And Joe, it's a silly question because Go Live is next for you in 2 weeks, but I'm sure you're planning additional phases, moving forward. So I'm sure this is going to move pretty quickly for you guys. What's next after original Go Live?
That's a really good question. There's actually a queue building up, we can see it already. We haven't even got yet the outcome of the first release. And we have got a multi-phase deployment. So we're actually trying to phase the delivery with the capability to align to our requirements in the field and then match that with our contracts. But we're already seeing the opportunities building up. There's a demand there. Like the people in the operations who are seeing one contract team getting the solution are going, well, when do we get it? Why haven't we got that shiny bit of kit yet? And even we've already had some round robins with the technicians in the field, and they've worked with other work management suites, and they think it's great. So we're already getting positive feedback. So I've been very nervous, I have to say, lost a lot of sleep. But I think I'm really looking forward to probably being here in about a month's time and see what happened.
Yeah. Very good. And last question for you, it's probably fresher in your mind, is selection criteria. I know you guys went through a really, really extensive process, as you said. So, if the audience is looking to go down this path, what are the things that were top of mind for you that they should consider when they're looking at a solution?
Look, I think the most important thing that we identify by talking to people who have gone before us is try not to customize the system. We actually talked to a few people who had war stories that said they customized platform, even off-the-shelf platform, and then when releases came, they couldn't adopt them or they had to wind back things out of them. So we went with the view of understand our business, understand where we were going, then evaluate the products off the shelf that were as close as possible to that. Then we found, of course, the Salesforce product, and we looked at that. So our whole focus has been to drive standardization, which has actually been really difficult and quite interesting. We were really lucky. The Spirit guys came over from Israel, and we had some initial design workshops, and I still remember it very vividly because I had operational people in meetings. We were going through what they were doing. We're trying to talk about the future world, and they're trying to rebuild the current world. And I'm kind of trying to coach them along to say, we won't do that anymore. And they're going, but we do that now, we have to do that, that's important. I go, well, you won't need to do that. It'll happen out of the system. It'll automatically be the right quality, the right outcome. And they take a leap of faith, and we got them across the line, and there's still some nervousness, and they're waiting to see it deliver, and I think that's probably the best thing. But we end up having one key motto was keep it simple and keep it standard. So every workshop I said, keep it simple, keep it standard, and when we went to a debate, I just went, I went to experience, said, what does everybody else do? And they said this, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, very good advice, and I think from you, with such a complex business with so many different business units as well, that's music to our ears,
yes.
Which is great. And what about for you, Nicole? Top tips for people looking to go down the field service path?
I think planning, like taking the time in the beginning to understand your business. The same thing as a national business, understanding that there's going to be disparity between each of your states, each of your teams. Understanding that disparity before you go ahead and try and start building things. We kind of moved too fast and I sort of built it too quickly, and we had to sort of fix up a few things. So for me, the biggest thing is to just take a deep breath at the beginning, slow down a little bit and understand everyone's processes. Change them by all means, but understand all your gaps before you sort of move ahead with any solution.
Awesome. Great advice from you both. Hopefully everybody out there has got a few tips on what to look for around implementation, selection, etc. So really appreciate you guys spending the time and taking the time to be with us today and sharing your advice.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks everyone.
Guys. Thanks. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. This up because I've got somebody over there telling me I've got less than 30 seconds. So thank you for joining us today. A few call to actions. You can learn a whole lot more about IoT and the future of field service by tapping your badge at the back of the room to get an asset. Secondly, you can access a really great ROI case study online. And thirdly, there's a whole group of people out there, just like Joe and just like Nicole, that are part of the Trailblazer community that you can all go and interact with and start to share learnings, tips, ideas with one another. So with that, thank you very much, guys, for listening, and enjoy what's left of your world tour. Thanks, guys.